What's going on, Five Shirt fam? We have a special guest to help us preview the match this week. On Tuesday, we have Costa Rican football expert Eddie. Eddie, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get right into it. So, Alajuelense, they are a very storied club in Costa Rica. You might be a fan of an opposite team of them, but nonetheless, let us know what the state of Alajuelense is at the moment.
Yeah, if you can't tell by the colors, that other team is Saprissa. I always rock purple for that. So, Alajuela, they are the class of Costa Rica. They got off to a really hot start, winning a high percentage of their games. But basically because of international duty, U23's duty, there's been a lot of heavy rotation over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 match days. And they've dropped a lot of points in that. They've only won one of their last 4 games. So there's been a little bit of inconsistency. Teams have started to bunker down on them a lot more. They're seeing a lot more 5-man back lines. So it's been a little bit difficult with the rotation, and basically the other teams bunkering down for them to really find the form that they started off the season with. But even with that, on their worst days, they're still not dropping points. We're 16 games into the season, and they're still unbeaten.
Yeah, is that due to some of the guys being away on international duty?
That was some of it. That was some of the rotation. Some of the names that people may have seen at the U23s don't necessarily start for Alajuela. Like Ian Smith splits minutes with a right back, Jose Salvatierra. Alfaro doesn't get much play in midfield, but when Johan Venegas had to go out, and then he didn't start the game last night against Herediano, so that's kind of like a big loss. Brian Ruiz was the same way. He didn't start last night. And then, a guy like Alonso Martinez, who did miss games, is one of the young starlets that they had that's really been making an impact in the lineup. So with that, some guys had to step in that otherwise normally wouldn't. And we're talking about young 18-year-old kids that really are just getting their first minutes of professional football. So it's been that kind of rotation, but not so much in the sense where the heavy hitters like Marcel Hernandez has been missing. But it's still been enough to kind of throw them off their rhythm a little bit.
Yeah. So what do Alajuelense do well in that they've been undefeated this season? So, obviously they're doing a lot of things right, only conceded 9 goals to my count so far. What do they do well?
I would say first, they have a very good front office. I think the 7 years of failure and embarrassment in Costa Rica, not winning a title, losing in final after final against either Heredia or Saprissa, and stockpiling the talent based off of those failures in a way where their competitors just couldn't keep up. So bringing in guys like Leonel Moreira, bringing in guys like Brian Ruiz, like big names in Costa Rica, I would say that's the thing that they do best right now, along with, developing young academy talent. Now on the field, I think a lot of people assume that if you're the class of Costa Rica, you're going to want to be on the ball a lot. You're going to want to dictate tempo, dictate possession. But I think one of the things about Alajuela that a lot of people don't know is that when they want to, and they want to bunker down in a 4-4-2 and set sort of a restraining line right by about the halfway line, the center circle, and kind of force the ball into their spine where a lot of their experience is, and then get that ball out on the wings to the young dynamic players. And that's where they really start to torch teams, is out on the wing with just pace, speed, dynamism, 1v1 skill. And they're starting to throw numbers in the box forward. And then, of course, when you have guys like Marcel Hernandez that can win anything in the air, that they're going to cause a lot of teams problems. So skill-wise on the field, don't necessarily expect Alajuela to be the type of team that just wants to possess and play pretty. When they want to, they can bunker down and counterattack with the best of them.
So, definitely then, what could Atlanta exploit in their setup then, seeing that, maybe they might play a little bit more direct at times?
I would press the hell out of the center backs if you could. So they have kind of weird center back pairings at times where Jose Miguel Cubero will come in, very old midfielder, kind of moving back to the back line. Junior Diaz, a left back that in his old age started to move to play like left center back. But then they also have young cats. So if you watch the U23's match against Costa Rica, US, they pressed this one kid, Faron, a lot, and he just was an absolute shock with the ball at his feet, kept turning the ball over, costly mistakes. So depending on what the matchup is, you can kind of expect to put pressure on those center backs and create turnovers. when they are trying to possess the ball, I think that's the best moment to exploit them. I think the other thing would be kind of outnumbering them in midfield. So they have two, kind of a double pivot, but their two midfielders aren't necessarily ball winners. They're not necessarily physical. They're very slow, technical players. So I think if you can outnumber them in midfield, apply a little bit of pressure there, then, you know, in the transition game, there's going to be a lot more space because the midfielders aren't exactly equipped to kind of cover that ground.
That sounds pretty decent for our prospects in the sense that we will potentially like to press pretty high, so that kind of bodes well. That's encouraging slightly, but definitely we still have not played a competitive match in about 5 months, so yeah, either way, it's still a bit of a crapshoot. But yeah, who are the danger men for Alajuelense that Atlanta United fans need to watch out for?
It starts with Marcel Hernandez. This is a Cuban striker, beast of a man, can win anything in the air, but, you know, also likes to drop in deep, get the ball at his feet, and then kind of dictate where the ball is going to go from there, and then out wide try to exploit it with either one of Sequeira or Alonso Martinez. But Marcel Hernandez is the main focal point for that attack, and when he's getting fed the ball, when he's getting provided service, especially in the box, they're very difficult to stop. And I think Johan Venegas playing off of him at times. When Marcel wants to go 1-2 with him, you'll see a lot of quick combination play and runs in behind. Those two can really put it together, but it always starts with Marcel Hernandez. And then in midfield, you know, a lot of people are going to be prone to think that it's Brian Ruiz, that he's the guy, he's the talisman that kind of dictates the tempo in midfield, but that's just not been the case this season. There's been a lot of games where I watched Alajuela and I would forget that Brian Ruiz is even playing. It's actually been his partner, Alex Lopez, this Honduran cat, who has been doing a lot more of the dirty work more than he's ever been. When he first came into Alajuela's setup, he was basically a number 10, and that's the only way he's been deployed. And as the team started to develop and get more personnel and kind of the style started to rely more on the wing play, he started to drop a little bit deeper and become kind of that deep line playmaker. And he's able to spray balls from anywhere in midfield. And if he wants to hit Martinez on a running behind, he can do it from about 60 yards. So up front, I would say Marcel Hernandez, and then overall, the real engine that runs that attack is probably Alex Lopez.
Okay, so that leads me right into the next question then. How will they probably set up? What's your predicted starting 11 for them on Tuesday?
It should definitely be a 4-4-2. That's pretty much all I've ever seen them in this season. Even last season, they did a lot of 4-4-2. They were trying to figure out where they were going to fit Brian, and they kind of settled on that double pivot of Brian and Alex Lopez at midfield. But you have a 4-4-2 setup, Leonel Moreira at goalkeeper. If Keylor Navas never existed, this guy is very easily the number one for Costa Rica, and deservedly so. He could easily play anywhere in Europe, in MLS, but for whatever reason, he came back home to Costa Rica. So you got him at goalkeeper. Fullbacks, most likely you'll get Roman, who also started for Costa Rica's U23s on the left side, and on the right, I would imagine they go with a little bit more experience. So somebody like Jose Salvatierra instead of Ian Smith. Center back pairing, I would imagine they go with Gamboa and Areola, who's kind of an older gentleman, you should say, in his mid to late 30s, because I can't see Alajuela playing two young center backs in a game this big with that much talent on the other side. So I think that they're going to stick with what they've done pretty much all year, and that's rely on their spine being experienced veterans. So I think Areola should be the center back partner of probably Gamboa, if not Ferron. Like I said, you have Brian and Alex Lopez in midfield as a double pivot. Out wide, that's where you get the youngsters, the starlets. On the right side, probably Alonso Martinez, and on the left side, Barlon Sequeira. And then up top, again, more experience, more veteranship. You got Marcel Hernandez and Johan Venegas as the double nines.
Okay, yeah. So, pretty, I think, straightforward setup in terms of 4-4-2. They pretty much all know what their roles are. We are going to be still figuring out our system. This, doesn't quite bode as well in some respects. But so let's get to then the score prediction for the match. What do you got, Eddie?
So I think the first leg, Alajuela should take it. What the score line is, I think that's really going to come down more to Atlanta United's match fitness. Alajuela's been, like I said, 16 games in, and then they even had some games in the CONCACAF League. against Saprissa that really pushed them. So they're tested, they're match fit. They haven't gone 5 months without a game. Being at home, the only disadvantage is Costa Rica's COVID protocols are pretty serious. You're not going to see any fans. You're not going to see any piped-in crowd noise. It's going to feel like a scrimmage match. So that'll definitely pop off your screen. And the good news for Atlanta United is that you're coming into a very safe and functional environment when it comes to COVID protocols.
Yeah.
But that will, I think, ultimately hurt Alajuela, where they could have really pounced on Atlanta and build an advantage. I think Alajuela takes the first leg, but for me, the biggest thing is that Marcel Hernandez is not going to play in the second leg, at least not yet, because he has some allegedly things that you can sprinkle in there. But basically, the courts in Cartago aren't letting him travel. They're not letting him travel to Atlanta because he still has a pending case. So I think when that news dropped about a couple of weeks ago, when I saw that news, I was confident that Alajuela would get through because I think that they had enough talent, and I think Atlanta's still figuring things out. Losing Marcel Hernandez for the second leg, especially when that away goal is as important as it is, that's massive. And I kind of started to change my opinion where I think that the two will split. They'll get the results and be it a tiebreaker or just 1 goal or 2 goals more. I think Atlanta United will eventually go through, but that's only because Marcel Hernandez isn't playing the second leg.
Oh, wow. Okay, so pretty bold takes at the end there. But you got to give me that score prediction for this match.
2-1.
Yep.
Let's go with 2-1. I don't like I'm not gonna lie. I don't like predictions that much.
Yep.
Even I can watch this team all I want. I can watch the league all I want. In the end, nobody really knows what's gonna happen.
Sure.
But I think Alajuela has enough to hold firm at home and take at least a 1-goal victory away.
Yeah, that's the exact same scoreline that I have as well. So hopefully, karma kind of does the trick and flips it on its head, and Atlanta United fans can come away happy. But Eddie, thank you so much for your time. Please let us know where the good people can find you on the internet.
So you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at CRCFutbol, FUTBOL. I kind of have a blog where whenever I feel like writing something, I'll put it up there, but it won't be, your daily evergreen type pieces. Only when I feel inclined to write something, I'll put it up there. But when I do, it's normally something that I believe firmly in. But those are the 2 places you can find me, but Twitter's probably the best, where I cover a lot of games. Like I covered the game last night from Alajuela Heredia. I'll give you, analysis a little bit differently than you would normally get, where instead of I just tell you what happened, I'm telling you what I'm seeing, kind of breaking it down from my Opta experience or my coaching experience, and just giving you kind of a different look as to teams that you may have never seen play before.
Yeah. So you guys heard the man. Follow him at CRCFutbol. But guys, that's it for this episode of Scouting the Enemy. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we shall see you in the next video.